Right everybody, what is up? In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the array modifier. Okay, the array modifier is a fun modifier to allow us to create multiple objects really fast, and it's one I use particularly myself quite a lot when I'm making steps and stuff like that. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make a basic set of steps and we're going to use the array modifier. Okay, and in this play set of videos, we're going to start looking into modifiers and looking at exactly what modifiers are and how we use the modifiers. So I've started up a new scene here in Blender, okay? And I'm at splash screen and I'm just going to click off it. Now, I don't need my light and I don't need my camera, so I'm going to click my light and I'm going to shift select my camera. I'm going to press delete on my keyboard. I'm going to delete out the light and the camera because I don't need them, you know, for the moment. And I'm just left with my default cube. So I have my default cube here, and this is what I'm going to use to show you guys the array modifier. Okay, so the array modifier allows us to, you know, create duplicates of the object really fast. So for instance, if I come over to my modifiers tab, okay, now my modifiers tab is down here and it's where this little wrench icon is, okay, on the right hand side. And if you click the little wrench icon on the right hand side, you'll see now that you have a menu that says add modifier. From this menu you can select the modifiers that you wish to add. There's a load of modifiers in here, so don't get kind of you know, real kind of put off by looking at the modifiers, but there's quite a load in here. And we're going to start off with the first modifier here on top, and this is called the array modifier. Okay, so as you can see, it's in generate and it's the array modifier. If I hover over and I left click that once, as you can see now I have created a duplicate of a box. Okay, so the array has actually put the duplicate here. Now if I hide this for a second, you'll see that we have our main block here, and then if I enable it again, we see we have our array which is added our second block. Now if I tab and go into edit mode, you will see that this is our main block here. Okay, so this is our main block here, and when we move our main block we also move the array that's with it. So you could kind of think of it as being an extra block that's added onto this, you know. That's what the array modifier does. Now we can quickly stack these up as well if we want. So if we look over in the array modifier properties here, okay, we have a relative and a constant offset. Okay, a constant offset will allow us to add constant values to these, and a relative offset will allow us to add relative values to these. So if you look here at the moment, up the very top we have a fixed count and we have a count. Okay, if I go and I say if I click here and I go say 10 and I enter, now you can see that I quickly have you know, 12 blocks now, I'd say. So I have the 10 blocks here and then the other two. So I have the blocks here, and you can also hold left click and you can slide this up and down as well, and you can get multiple you know, multiple stuff, multiple parts of the array. And with the relative offset here, okay, what you can do is, as you see now, right, we have X, Y and Z. Okay, so right now at the moment this is 1 on the X axis, right? So that's what this is, right? So we've X, Y and Z here. Okay, so it's 1 on the X axis, which means it's going, you know, it's going across here in a relative offset, so it's going across the X axis. If I put 1 here in the Y, as you can see now, it's starting to go in the Y axis, you see, so it's starting to go here now along this Y axis here. And if I put 1 here, now you can see it's starting to go along the Z axis. So as you can see, it's starting to manipulate the object in the array, and what it's doing is it's actually putting it along the axes that we want, and that's a relative offset. A constant offset is the same thing. We can actually do, we can play around with these settings as well, you see, and we can kind of, we can go and we can kind of you know, move it around to where we want it. But as you can see, with moving this On the relative offset and the constant offset, we can actually fine tune it and get it where we want, you know. So I'm just going to zero these out for the moment because I don't need that one. So with our array modifier, we have our count and also we have our relative offset, and we can, you know, play around with these and we can decide where we want it and stuff. But the array modifier is great for building stuff. Like if I zero these out again, and say for instance you wanted to build a set of steps, okay? So you wanted to build a set of steps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to shrink this cube down a bit, okay, to make it look a bit like a step. So as you can see, that looks a bit like a step here at the moment, okay? So you could say to yourself, okay, well, what I could do is if I wanted to make a step, I could actually go, okay, I'm going to take the array off for the moment. I could actually go and I could actually press Shift and D and I could duplicate it. Then I could bring it up, and then I could bring it across, and then I could highlight both of these, Shift D, and then I could bring them up, and then I could bring them across, and you could kind of go up that way, and you could kind of make your steps all, you know, kind of go up the way you want them to go up, or you could just use the array modifier. So with the bottom one selected here, you can just go and click on array. Now as you see, it's added the array out to the X, as we see in here, okay? So what it's done is it's actually added the array out into the X. So you can see that here. If you look at it here, you see it's on the X. So if I go up to the X and I press 0, okay, and I go to the Y and I press 1, okay, and then I go to the Z and I press 1, okay, as you can see now, I'm starting to get the block that's coming in on this side, you see. So I know that's similar to where I want it over here. So all I need to do is simply just go to the Y and press 0, and as you can see now I have the block on top of it, okay? So what I've done with the array modifier is I've told it to go up one on the Z axis, but don't go up at all on the X and Y. And now all I need to do is I just simply need to come down to the X axis, and I just simply need then to press 1 like this, and there you go, 1 on the X, 0 on the Y, and 1 on the Z, and now I have my steps. And the best thing about the array modifier is if I go to my count over here and I just click the count, I can quickly make my steps without having to copy or duplicate anything, you see. So now I can quickly make my steps without having to copy or duplicate anything, because it's just going to continue on the array as you go along. So what it's doing is it's actually continuing on the array on the relative offset, okay? Now if I wanted these stairs to have a bit of a gap, okay, if I wanted these stairs to have a bit of a gap in them, I could come to the relative offset, and then what I could do on the X is I could play around with this on the X, and now you see my steps are starting to get a bit of a gap. So if I wanted the steps to have a bit of a gap, you know, you could actually come over here to the constant offset and play around with that, and then you'll be able to give your steps some gap. And this would be very good if you were to do a rope bridge. Say you were doing a rope bridge, you would essentially just, you would have it as 0 there, and let me see, what was the 0 there? Like that. So you would have on the relative offset, you would have all zeros, and then on the constant offset you could just use the X, and then you would just pretty much bring it out like that. And then now you could make your rope bridge, you see. So if you were making a rope bridge, you would use your constant offset, and you would kind of, you know, bring it into where you want it, you see. So the relative offset is you know, it's offsetting it relatively, and then the constant offset is allowing you to get these gaps and stuff like that, you know. So as you can see, the power of the array modifier, guys, is really, really, really cool, you know. I mean, you could quickly make quite a lot of blocks. You know, for instance, if I was to start off on a new file, and I would select all these and delete them. And say for instance I just added in a cube, okay, so I've added in my default cube here. So now what I want is I want this to be the pillar of a wall, okay. So what I can do is I can get it to the size that I want it. And I'm just going to general eyeball this, okay, and just kind of make it a bit kind of a bit more like a pillar, So we're going to say that that's similar. That's the pillar of the wall, okay? So now what I want is I want these all to be in a straight line, and I want them to be spaced out evenly, okay? So I can come down to my array modifier and add modifier array, and then as you see it's coming out on the X here, okay? I want it out on the Y. So you have your X, Y, and Z over here, okay? So 0 on the X and 1 on the Y, and say I want them in a constant offset of about 3 meters, say about 5 meters apart. Okay, so say I want them 5 meters apart on the Y, so no, let's make them 20 meters apart on the Y, okay. And now what I can do is I can just add the count of how many I want. So okay, well, I've added 5 for the moment. So now there's the posts of my wall, and now all I need to do is I can just add my wall base itself. So I can go and I can scale my wall in to where I want it, and then again I can follow the same thing. I could stretch this out if I wanted to. I'm just going to eyeball this for the moment. I could stretch this out if I wanted to, or I could simply just go and add an array modifier here as well, and we're doing the same thing. We're just zeroing it out, and then we want it to go along the y-axis, so we put 1 on the y, and then all we need to do is just up the count, and there we go, we have that, okay. So now what we can do is we can actually, if you see now we're out a bit over the actual thing itself, and all we need to do is just we can left click on the Y here, and we could just bring it back a bit. Well, that actually didn't work, but on the offset of the Y we can actually just bring it back a bit. So we can go to the constant offset, and we can kind of bring it back or forward a bit depending on what we want. And you can just generally tweak it into shape. But as you can see, at the moment it's very easy to build up a wall and build up other models, because of the fact that you are just simply using the array modifier, So once the array modifier you're finished with the array modifier, okay. Now an array modifier is non-destructive, which means that you can actually remove the array modifier if you wanted to. But once you're finished with the array modifier, that means that you can click apply, and click apply on both of the modifiers. And once you have both modifiers, now when you go into edit mode, as you can see, it's all one object now. Well, the posts are one object and the wall is a separate object. But as you can see, the array modifier has created an array of a wall and also of the posts themselves. So as you can see, with the array modifier, it's very, very easy to build up your models. So you could build up steps, rope bridges, you could build fences. You could build fences quite easily as well, if you were to, say for instance, take say you for instance were to make like what am I doing there now, and say that was the post of your fence, and you were to add your array modifier, and you wanted going 1 on the x-axis, so, or 1 on the y-axis, so there you go, and do an offset of 5 on the y, and you could play around with this offset and kind of get it like that. And then what you could do is you could simply go and you could simply add in your mesh cube again, and you could actually make the fence itself, so you could rotate it x90 so you can get it like that. And then what you can do is you can just go and you know, stretch this out so it's stretched out similar to what you want. Instead of using the array modifier all the time, you could simply stretch it out to where you want, and once you have it in the position that you want, now all you need to do is just apply the array modifier to it and get it with the way you want it. That's wrong actually, because that's along the X. There we go. So you can get it the way you want it, and it's a bit, you know, it's a bit finicky to try and mess around with it and stuff, you know. But as you can see, that's actually off. There we go. And as you can see, by just editing and just tweaking it, you can kind of make your fence the way you want. You see, so you could just use the array modifier, and you know, you can create simple, you know, you create objects like fences and steps and stairs and stuff like that, you know. Then you can just apply your modifiers, select both of them, and you just join them together, and then there you go, you have your fence. And then if you wanted to make multiple duplicates of your fence, of course you could add an array modifier to your fence, and as you can see now, you can create multiple copies of your fence. And yeah, you can just keep setting up arrays and arrays and arrays, and it's a very fast way of creating objects in Blender. And that's the array modifier, guys. Yeah, hopefully the explanation is okay and it doesn't sound a bit weird. I was having a few problems with Blender as I was going through it, so I was trying to account for those. But yeah, the array modifier is a very handy, a very useful tool. So make sure to try it out, guys. Yeah, and do send me your pictures in World, you know. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also click that notification bell so that you can get notifications of my new videos. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.